Okay, it's 5:30 p.m. and I'm going to start our work session. It is July 14th, by the way. All right, I am going to call on Adam Garvin, our city manager, to present.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight we have Erica and Jim from Opsis and Paul from Pence Construction here tonight to go over some new renderings from the feedback you guys provided at our last City Council work session, providing we can get to an alignment on a conceptual design tonight. Ken Ballard will then work on an operations plan and present that to us at the 7/28 council meeting. So with that, I'll turn it over to Erica and Jim and kick off what we came up with.
Great, thanks so much, Adam. Thanks so much for having us back again. We're excited to be here. Ken Ballard was not able to join tonight, so we do have a little bit of input from him that we'll be sharing with you, just to let you know. So we just wanted to start by sort of level setting with where we were last time and what we heard from you and things that we were considering over the last couple of weeks. In the natatorium, we've been looking at a 10-lane stretch pool, increasing some deck space for storage and teams, looking at the 3 to 5 warm-up lanes for the competition pool, and increasing the spectator seating from the 400 we had been showing to 500. Looking for that visual connection between the competition and rec pools, as well as adding some space on the deck around the rec pool for parents. And then having the aquatics office have a little bit more equal access to both the competition and the rec pools. And then some of the other considerations were where there could be laundry space, what that administrative space might look like in terms of staff break room and office spaces, as well as bleachers being added to the gymnasium, skylights, and then idea of a vendor plaza for food carts. And then there was also some request for some cost information that we can share tonight around the community room, and then some detail on site costs.
So this is the plan that we shared the last time, and we just highlighted those areas that Erica was just mentioning with the red ellipse shape. So looking at a vendor plaza, the natatorium, the area around where we're locating the aquatic staff, laundry area, as well as the break room was mentioned as well, making sure we have that for admin, and then bleacher seating. So those are kind of the hot spots when we go through the plans. Keep an eye out for those spaces. So this is the updated plan. A little hard to see. I'll just start on the east side near the Arrival Plaza. We're showing an expanded zone there. We're calling it an events plaza. Certainly could have food carts or food trucks, but it could be used for other things. You could set up tents there. It could be really kind of multi-purpose event space, outdoor event space. And certainly there'd be power and lighting, but not other utilities at this point. And then as you move into the building, just kind of focusing on the natatorium. In the rec pool, we increase the deck area. Might look a little subtle, but it is more generous. There are these kind of white linear rectangles next to walls. Those are indicating zones for benches, could also be lockers. And so that combined with expanding the recreation pool slightly to the north has given a much larger area. Parents could sit on the deck. You could have tables there. So that social component, and also parents being able to look at their kids or friends is really important. So we've, I think, improved that space. And then there was also the comment brought up, do we have enough space on the deck at the competition pool? So we've increased that. Similarly, putting benches along the wall. Some of that could be lockers. We increased the width when you come into the natatorium from the west side. There's a dedicated corridor. Yes, right there. And before that was kind of a real pinch spot. And so we've opened that up more and also created better sight lines to the stairs that lead up to the spectator seating. Those were kind of hidden behind the lift, which we still have, but it's not in such a prominent location. So, and also making sure there's adequate deck space behind the starting blocks. Those are kind of the main updates for the natatorium. One thing that we added, wasn't mentioned, but thinking about the spectator seating at 400 people, do we start to at least provide a couple of restrooms that you don't have to go into the locker room or to the universal changing rooms to get access to restrooms. So they're located off of that corridor that runs north-south. There's two little boxes right there where Erica's pointing. We thought that would be a smart thing to do. There was also the comment brought up about a laundry room, washer and dryer. We relabeled some of the storage spaces to be a little more specific. So we have a facility storage and maintenance area that's quite large. That's where washer and dryer would go. We've done facilities where those can be in the room or they have their own space. So that is to be kind of designed, but certainly providing washer and dryer is a good idea. And that's where we think it would make sense to locate it. Those are kind of the highlights there. Another area that was brought up that we did some plan manipulation on was switching the universal changing rooms with the aquatic staff area. So in this layout, the staff would have access, visual access and physical access to the competition pool as well as the recreation pool. I think one thing we might do is actually the doors that swing back into the hallway from the recreation pool, we'll probably pull those back towards the south a bit, so you end up with a corner window of glass. The idea is that from the aquatic staff area, you've got great views and physical access to both pools. That was a really great suggestion, and the universal changing rooms work well where they're located as well. And then I'll mention before I leave this area, we also took a closer look at the binary men's and women's locker room zone. Previously, those were just two gray rectangles. And so we have laid it out where there's kind of a dry zone more towards closer to the hallway and access point, which works really well for people, especially, the dry land sports, the gymnasium, cardio weight, and group exercise room, and then putting more of the wet area back towards the pool with the showers there. The exact layout will have a fair amount of refinement, but the idea is we're creating a wet zone and a dry zone. So when there is a swim meet, you could actually kind of close off access to the wet zone and still maintain the locker access for the rest of the building, as well as providing, you still have the universal changing rooms for the recreation pool. So we think this is the beginning of an approach that will start to address the needs of the swim teams. And then we also took a closer look at the admin area. Previously, that was just a simple rectangular block, so we've added a couple offices. The point was a break room. Yes, that is important, and we've located that down in the southwest corner. Also workroom, there's open office area for staff and programming staff, so this starts to flush out a little more realistic layout for the admin area. Any questions on this? portion of it. I won't go into this much detail in the options, but
I don't know if this is a place to ask questions. Maybe we should go through
Okay,
the
we'll keep
others
going.
and then come back.
sure, that's fine.
Maybe answer it somewhere else.
Two
Yes,
more
please.
pieces before we move to the
Yes.
next slide. We did also look at the wall that's sort of between the competition and the rec pool, and that is looking at having windows up to 12 feet and then solid above that. So there will be visibility between there, but it's still acoustical separation. And then, do you want to touch on the?
Yeah, I mean, there's just a slight increase in the building area. I think it went up 500 square feet. The cost went up slightly, but not in a significant way for this option one. And I will add one other point too. In the gymnasium, we did add just in this part of the base cost, some storage area for bleachers and, just to give some relief to the tolerances around the courts. So in option 2, it's basically all the changes I just shared with the exception of showing an 8-lane, 25-yard stretch pool. So what this does is add 3 additional lanes to the competition pool. There's a movable bulkhead, so you can adjust how many warm-up lanes or how you want to demarcate the pool. But for swim meets, you would have 8-lane, 25-yard. You have 3 warm-up lanes there, plus there's 2 warm-up lanes in the recreation pool. So we think this is a much better version for maximizing the use of the competition pool. Also allows swim teams to warm up and just recreational swimmers to be able to have these other lanes available as well. So it just gives a lot of flexibility for the programming. This is showing still 400 spectator seats. I will say that we had a conversation with Kim Ballard, who's not here tonight, but he felt like this is, frankly, should meet the needs of most swim meets. He feels like this is a good scenario and one that actually works quite well.
One other thing I do want to add is that the costs that we're showing on all of these do still say November 2026 bond, and we know that the request was to do a May 2027. Since the original one we showed you was November 2026, we wanted to give sort of apples to apples, and then we'll have it talk about what that means
Okay.
at the end.
Yeah, and then with the cost in the area, this is about an increase of about 2,500 square feet, and then adds about $4 million to the project for this addition. And then there's option 3 that we were requested to take a look at, which is a 10-lane, 25-yard stretch pool. Everything's pretty similar in this particular layout. This is an option where we'll share in a minute the potential of adding more spectator seats. I guess I'll just paraphrase Ken, he felt that having 500 seats for an 8-lane stretch pool isn't probably as needed as perhaps if you have a 10-lane. And, you did want to note too that with a 10-lane pool, there's more maintenance costs, operation costs, it's just deeper water. So just a few of those points to feel there may be a regional meet occasionally where this could be desirable, but you're also competing against a number of other facilities that have 10-lane or larger pools as well. So, yeah. And this, added about $3.4 million and about 2,000 square feet. This is the option with the 500 seat spectators seating. We're kind of viewing this as kind of an add-on to options 1, 2, or 3. But with Ken's input, we're thinking this is probably most relevant, increasing the seating to the scenario where it's a 10-lane pool.
Yeah, I think on this particular one, Ken's thought was that From an 8-lane pool, you really 400 seats are more than enough. But when you have a 10-lane pool, that's when it becomes a nice amenity to have the 500, so that if you are hosting that regional meet, you will need those additional seats.
You did mention too that, when that's a lot of seats and they aren't going to be used all the time. So in fact, if it is more the exception than the norm, you're paying for that. It's about $500,000 of investment for that addition. And it kind of ripples through a couple other areas in the plan. So that's the help of Pence, the numbers there. Thank you. The community room, this is one that's about 3,500 square feet of additional area, 1.7 roughly in construction costs. This is one that most community recreation centers have this type of amenity as a point. These are kind of some of the talking points Ken shared with us, and also from our experience also support these. It really provides space for a variety of uses. You can break the room into 2 separate spaces. It's like an additional classroom. It can be an indoor playground. You can have art classes in it. It opens up in this location out towards the view in the outdoors. So you can have weddings here and, all sorts of events. In fact, we're showing more clearly what we're calling an events terrace. So this building, you might have an events plaza near the entry, but you also have another type of event space that opens up to the park and the outdoors. So this could be a high rental revenue generating space.
One of the things he also did say was that most rec centers do choose to include a community center or a community room. However, even those that do not, he said they often later regret not having included it because it is such a useful element and it does generate revenue for the facility.
And then there was also the request to take a look at the gymnasium bleacher seating. There's an image of your existing gymnasium with the pull-out bleachers, pretty significant amenity. We also took that and dropped it into the plan. It's about, the bleachers, existing ones, are about 66 feet wide, 40 feet deep when they're pulled out. When they store, they're only in about 4 feet, 4'6" storage area. But it was interesting to start to see, wow, that's a big footprint for those bleachers. This is a smaller gym than you have, but we also were considering that when you pull out those bleachers, it's probably less about recreation and maybe more about even a community event. So we've seen other images where there's chairs set up on the floor of the gymnasium. So this will be one of the larger spaces in McMinnville, and so I know you have holiday events, all sorts of happenings, and so this is really a good consideration. And this is showing the existing footprint. Pence took a look at it and kind of felt like relocating the existing versus buying new, you're probably still looking at almost the same price. And buying new would give you state-of-the-art bleachers versus ones that are, significantly older, still in good shape. But I'm not sure if you want to speak more to that.
We got that cost advice from a seating vendor, and the advice we got was based on the age of the equipment, the unavailability of parts, the cost to disassemble, label, relocate, reassemble, try and figure out how to fix the things that you broke along the way. They actually advised it might be less expensive to buy new than to relocate. But they were both about that same for that number of seats, that 200 to 220 range.
So this particular plan shows if, you had 14 rows, but if maybe you decide, wow, the capacity of 8 rows is fine. So you can make it whatever size you want, but it seemed like a really interesting amenity. On the opposite side is a more traditional way of looking at gym. Part of it's blocked now, but basically movable bleachers, I might just go up 3 tiers. Those will be used the most, on a more regular basis for recreation. They can move around, be set up in the middle, towards the ends, all sorts of possibilities. And it could be, frankly, in the end, it's a combination of both. Those smaller bleachers could also be stored in a storage room right off of the gym too. So that's kind of where we are. It kind of opened up a few kind of variations of thinking as well.
So we wanted to put that all together for you so you could kind of understand this cost comparison with these add-ons. So we have each of the options across the screen with the cost of the base plan, and that's the construction cost. The cost of the community room add-on for each of those. And then we only added the natatorium seating to option 3, since that was the one that Ken said a 10-lane would really want to have that additional seating in the natatorium. And then in addition to that total construction cost, again, added the 32% soft cost. And so you can see the overall project cost for each down below. And we should say that the movable bleachers is included in the base plan. So it would be an additional $220,000 if you were to add that, the retractable bleachers into any of those options. But they all do include movable ones that really allow for, as Ken was saying, it makes it so that you can use them in any configuration for different sporting events as opposed to being held to a singular location with the retractable version.
And if it was desirable to not have 14
Yeah.
rows, but 8 rows, and, you do the math, it might
Somewhere
half
in
the
the middle.
cost.
Right.
Yeah.
So anyway.
So we also talked with Ken about sort of what is the return on investment for each of these options. Looking at the 8-lane versus a 10-lane stretch, so a bigger competition pool is going to result in actually a lower return on investment simply because there is more water, there's more maintenance, there's a bigger pool to take care of. And the hosting of a large regional meet would occur, it might occur maybe once a year. There's going to be competition with other regional aquatic centers for that. And that local swim meets themselves are not really a significant revenue producer. For the 400 versus 500 spectator seats, again, the larger seats results in a lower return on investment because the space is typically underutilized and you're not really, the meets themselves, he said, are not major revenue generators for the facility. He did say that there could be, for the regional ones, there could be a small economic impact to the town of McMinnville, the city of McMinnville, because of people, depending on where they're coming from, if they're having to stay overnight and that sort of thing. And then community room versus no community room versus having a community room. He said the revenue there can be equal or higher than the operating cost of that space, so it actually can often be an adder to the revenue of the center. And then the gymnasium seating itself, he says, typically has no impact on return on investment for that. So the last one we wanted to touch on is the bond timing. So as we said, all of the costs that were included, we're really looking at a November 2026, so that we had an apples to apples from our last presentation to you. If you were to continue on a November 2026 bond that, you're building on sort of your current momentum, this is in the minds of the community, they're already thinking about it, does give you a shorter informational campaign, but it does ultimately have reduced escalation costs, and escalation costs are basically the cost that's the cost of construction will increase between now and when it's finally going out to bid. So that's a 6-month difference that we're looking at. So a May 2027 bond, sort of the opposite piece of that. It's a longer informational campaign. There's an additional opportunity for a community engagement effort if you wanted to do that. It is getting closer to the November 2027 school bond, and there is about a 2.4% cost increase based on that 6-month delay in bidding.
And people often like to think contractors or economists. We're not. We rely on other people to help estimate escalation. And in this case, we're using a data source called Ryder, Levitt, and Bucknell, who are national cost consultants in construction, who publish data quarterly, including the Portland metro area. And that's what they tagged this last 12 months. That was 4.8%, and half of that gets you 2.4. That's where that number came from.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's less.
So to give you kind of an overview comparison of all 3 of these options, as well as the bond timing piece of it, there we have the November 2026 on the left-hand side for each option and the May 2027 cost for each. And overall, it's roughly in the realm of about $2 million difference, which when we were talking about it, that is essentially the cost of the community room itself is right in that same range of cost.
Okay. I have a couple questions. How many people will the bleachers seat for that 220,000?
We did this, I think it was 400, is that right? Was that many?
I think it was 400,
Yeah, I think it was
yes.
400. I think we actually use your excellent photographic data to identify what you
Count
have now.
seats.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the seating in the pool, I think, so the concern that I understand, and I talked to the swim coach again today, is the 400 seating is similar to what they have now for parents. But what we're concerned about is the kids are on the deck, and there's 300 that you can fit on the deck right now. And I'm concerned that that may not happen, and I don't want to go backwards.
Sure.
So I'm not, obviously this doesn't tell me size, I just see the little benches that you added, a couple benches, but we don't have any storage for those 300 kids. And tell me, maybe I'm seeing it wrong.
We'll have, yeah, I wasn't aware of that count. I probably just skipped it. But 300 kids on the deck with 400 parents or spectators. That's what we're looking for.
That's my understanding, is there's a lot of kids that can be on the deck. How many? But, so Morello said that though there's a lot of them on the deck. Can you give us an idea? I just want to know that. I just want to be accurate here.
Okay. Is that good?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I think that we should probably consult with Murillo on real numbers. And also, I would suggest communicating with city staff, just so that we can cross-reference. But, when kids are swimming, there's 8 at a time, okay? And then you have your next event, so that's another 8. And then there's probably another line for the next event, so another 8. Okay, so now we're 24. And then you might have some teams like sitting in bleachers, okay, on the side, that's where it exists now. On the east side, there's like movable bleachers. But that's not a ton at a time. I don't think I've ever seen more than 100 kids on the deck at a time, but there are a lot of adults as well.
Right. Yes, I should say.
There's adult timers, there's adult monitors, there's, right now, because we don't have ADA seating, there might be ADA viewing. But then when you talk about our existing pool, you might have kids in the warm-up pool. And so there's more kids actively moving around in that space. But I'm, 100% being totally honest. I don't know that I've seen 300 kids on that deck.
I guess it's maybe 300 people, a lot of people if we're having a meet and you have kids waiting.
Yeah.
And the parents.
Yeah,
And-
I think
and
most
staff.
parents are in the stands. They're not allowed on deck. But my experience is that kids are, and especially kids from other teams, they're typically in the stands with their parents. And so that's why it gets crowded up there, is because you've got kids with all their stuff all over the place. But, I've never been except at a district meet, so that's the high school district meet, where it's like you're kind of pretty packed in that spectator space. But then, regional meets, if we're able to host those. But we have some constraints in McMinnville in terms of like the style of hotels that we have and so forth. But I'm adding on my
Yeah,
other
we're not-
career. But if you want to add those hotels.
Counselor Chenoweth?
Just to follow that up, for me, this question I'm going to ask is not about getting to the granular detail. It's about making sure that the space is adequate. So I'm going to ask a question that sounds granular, but it's not. One of the things I heard at every single pool that we went to was the need for lockers or spaces to put stuff for the swim team members on the deck. Would this give us enough room for that kind of amenity?
Yeah, we're planning on that. We've added some lockers along the locker
Can you
room
bring your
edge.
mic with you?
And I think there's probably even more capability, right in the zone that Erica is referencing there. So, yeah, there's some massaging, I think, that can happen to totally make that happen.
Counselor Peralta?
Thank you. I had questions about the different pool options. So the 8 lanes with the bulkhead was just under 85 million. 8 lanes with no bulkhead was slightly over 80 million. Would 10 lane, and we saw the 10 lanes with the bulkhead, and I guess it sort of begged the question for me, what is the main cost of the additional lanes, the extra building construction? I guess the answer that I'm trying to get to is what would 10 lanes with no bulkhead do? Would that be about $3 million less than 10 lanes with the bulkhead, given the...
That was, well, functionally, we actually did consider that option, and it doesn't provide the flexibility that an 8-lane with a bulkhead provides, because now you've got 3 warm-up lanes. So in terms of talking to aquatic staff here, that was really viewed as a much better option than just a pure 10-lane.
So, okay, I hear that. The question that I have is the ongoing maintenance on the bulkhead. I know nothing about these, so I just kind of looked it up on the web, and it seems like the range was pretty wild, 40,000 to 100,000 over 10 years. Does that sound like the ballpark?
Yeah, I'm thinking the bulkhead just on its own is in the $200,000 to $300,000 range, just on day one. You don't see they're used as often as they're kind of anticipated being used. I mean, they do provide some flexibility, but in some pools they're installed and left in the position they're installed in. Your question about the cost, if you looked at the whole building and said this whole building is $1,000 a square foot, including site work, that room is the most expensive cost per square foot in that whole building. That room might be $1,200 and the workout space might be $800 a square foot. So as you grow that, you're growing the most expensive part of the building. And it's not just that you're adding more pool, which there is a cost to. Obviously, you're adding more structure and sprinkler heads and lighting and HVAC and everything else that goes with it.
Full mechanical, I think.
We can certainly run that through the mill and figure out what we think that is, 10 lanes with no bulkhead. I think we did have some advice.
We have that option.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it'd be great to get a number. I mean, we may be coming to a sort of a consensus tonight, so it may not be as helpful. I also had a question about the community room. So that community room and event space added 1.7 million to the project at 3,500 square feet. It seems like that would be one of the less expensive rooms because there's not a lot of stuff in there. So why does that trigger such a big increase in cost?
On a per square foot basis is actually one of the less expensive spaces in the building.
Okay. So it's just the size of the room, 3,500 square feet?
Right, and there's amenities in there. You can see there's an operable partition, and there's going to be AV in that room and some other parts and pieces that
yeah, it has to perform acoustically, and so there's a higher level of finishes typically in that room. Windows that open up to the outside, more transparency into it. Plus, part of that too is a warming kitchen. It's not a commercial kitchen. It's a very simple kitchen amenity and then storage, so
But even these costs are intended to help the city of McMinnville make good decisions at the bond level. There is still going to be 100,000 decisions to be made about how much do you spend on carpet or floor covering or how many light switches and light fixtures. What we were tasked with is just to provide our best estimate based on other similar products of what we think this would cost.
Right, and then just to kind of tie it back to what my original question and point was about the 10 lanes versus the bulkhead and no bulkhead, I was kind of wondering if we did 10-lane pool, no bulkhead, but made the floor space a little bit bigger, that might address the mayor's concern about,
Entirely possible.
about sufficient space for the folks to meet, so, thanks. That's all I had.
Thank you.
Counselor Chenoweth?
Come to me, I got questions. I didn't quite hear the question my council president asked. I'm not sure I understood the answer. So I'm going to re-ask the question. What's the maintenance cost on the bulkhead? Typically, what does that run?
we don't have an aquatic consultant on our team
I'd be
at this
speculating.
point, but yeah, I can find out what that is. But bulkheads have changed a lot, over a period of time, and we just did a 50-meter pool not just, a little while ago, the Juniper pool in Bend, and it's a Murtha pool, it's a different product, but they move so easily, and I don't know if there's inherently a maintenance cost per year associated with it. Probably depends what product you buy as well, but
That was my sense in looking at them. I couldn't imagine there was much of a cost to maintain them at all.
I believe that I'm aware of. Older ones, yes. I mean, I know in Hillsborough, they have an almost 50-meter pool at the Shark facility, and they have a big bulkhead they crane out and, put it in just seasonally. So it's very antiquated. It's just not how you would do a bulkhead now. They're easy to move and operate, these ones I'm familiar with.
So moving back to the 10-lane versus 8-lane.
Yeah.
What I'm understanding is the general push for a 10-lane is the hopes to get district and higher level meets. And what I'm hearing from what I heard from you folks today is Ken is indicating that we probably aren't going to, even if we had the capability, the realistic opportunity to actually host those meets here is not very high. Am I understanding that correctly?
That's correct, yes. He said
Okay.
maybe one a year.
And I also understood you saying that the ROI goes down if we expand out that pool to a 10-lane pool. Did I hear that correctly?
That's
Yes.
correct.
Okay. Yeah, so I would strongly encourage my fellow counselors to take those 2 points into consideration and in our discussion points here today. And I think that's probably, I'm obviously still really in favor of bleachers, and I'm really in favor of enough space on the deck, and really in favor of a room for community room. I think those are key points. Thank you.
Mayor, before we move on, Paul or Jim, could you talk about life expectancy of a bulkhead? I know Paul threw out a $200,000 number for a bulkhead, but what's the life expectancy of a bulkhead?
I think the life of the pool,
Yeah.
really. I don't
Speak in the mic.
see a limitation to that.
Just speculating, but
Thank you.
20 years?
Probably.
Yeah, 20.
Something in that nature.
20 years?
Yeah. Estimate.
Yeah, I wish I had our aquatic consultant
Anything-
here right now, because I give you a more direct answer.
Anything in
but-
water has a lifespan.
Yeah.
And then to Councilor Peralta's question around the 10-lane pool with no bulkhead, we talked as a group about that, and the issue with that is then you're basically shutting down the rec side of the aquatic side when you're hosting a meet, because you're using the rec pool for your warm-up lanes. And so having the bulkhead lets you still operate as 2 independent zones for the majority of the meets. The large district meet, we would still want to shut that down So you could have the warm-up lanes and that additional deck space for the, 200-plus coaches and swimmers and things like that. But for the smaller meets, you could do everything on the comp side and still have the revenue generating on the rec side as well as a community asset on the rec side.
Ready? Counselor Gary?
Yeah, thank you for all the work. Specifically about the movable, retractable bleachers into the gymnasium. I guess this is for a question for the room. What do we hope to accomplish in that space by adding those? We spent a lot of time way long ago at the MacPac talking about performing arts centers, and so, retractable risers a performing arts center does not make. And so what do we want to do in that gym that is accomplished by having those in there? And does this overall package include things that would make it a space that you'd want to do those things in?
At this point, the gymnasium's really designed more for recreation use. Yes, it has acoustical treatment, that's really important just for, to be able to make it legible or people can hear in this space. But it's not designed at all for a performing arts type function. It could be, but that's a level of enhancement with some theatrical lighting, a different level of acoustical treatment.
Equipment.
AV equipment, and so some of that can be portable. There are gym spaces that are, they're functioning a little bit that way, but it's, depends how you define, real performing arts.
Counselor Peralta?
Thanks. So going over to the gym, I mean, from my perspective, the gym that we have probably seats 500 people or thereabouts. I don't know that we have another space in town other than that gym, maybe the high school gym that has that same seating capacity. So if we do the community room, I assume that's not sufficient size for community type event space. So like, for example, I'm thinking of my daughter did Missoula Playhouse. And there you might have a couple of hundred people in the bleachers. It's at the gym. Would this gym be adequate for that type of programming? It's a, kids community playhouse type thing.
I think so.
Yeah. No, that would,
Yes, I think there's enough amenity in the budget right now to accommodate that.
But that assumes with the retractable bleachers.
Correct.
Obviously. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
There's sufficient size, they designed the building to fit that, if in fact we did that. The cost for that isn't in the base budget right now, the bleachers themselves.
and, I think there's another level of study in terms of how many rows of bleacher seating do you need? Because there would still be loose seating on the floor. So in many ways, I would say that you've got a flexible gym as it moves into design, how many bleachers do you really need? There's a level of detailed programming that we just haven't got into. It was a good question, is it 200 people or 400 or, those are all push points. And, how much can we enhance the acoustics? I mean, once you have the space, there's the ability to keep making it better, obviously.
And one quick follow-up. So on the community room, I think that was 3,600 square feet. Is that about right? How many people, like, what size event would that kind of accommodate?
Yeah, this is a smaller community room. We oftentimes are 3,600 square feet, and you could probably get a couple hundred people in there. Maybe less at round tables, 8-foot round, usually 8 people each, so it maybe 120 or 30. And it depends on what the event is. Is it a lecture style? Are you setting up a speaker? Where's the food? I mean,
Sure.
and, typically, as one gets into design, we would show multiple layouts for the space.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get a sense of,
Yeah.
so this room, is this about 2,000 square feet or something?
Yeah,
Yeah,
probably
it's
around
close
there.
to that, maybe a little bigger.
It'd be about,
It's not quite this big.
not quite double this size.
Probably similar in length, but not quite as deep. It's a little more rectangular shape, so.
I'm impressed with your architectural eye. Good job.
Good. Usually I'm counting ceiling tiles. These
Can't
are
do that
8-foot
here.
planks of plywood, so, I don't know.
I appreciate the, the back of the napkin,
Yeah.
but
So the community room, it could be something, I'm just going to say this, just based on money, is that could be added on later. I mean, the property is there. It's
Yes.
designed in a way that you would be able to do that in a later
That is
date,
true.
let's say. Okay,
And if
That's
you-
how we planned it.
And if you knew that was a possibility, you designed the structure to accommodate that.
right.
Certainly add 4.8% per year.
Of course, but we may not, I mean, it's something to consider. How
You
much
could
we're
also
going to ask.
itemize that on the plan, so you go out for a bond without that, and then you use that as a naming opportunity.
Very true.
And then I'm going to go back to the seating, sorry. And it's just really important to me, and getting a message from Morello here, it's just, he does say that there is a large number between coaches and staff and kids' things and the kids themselves. So I'm just wondering about square footage of the deck. How does this deck with the 8 and the 3 compare to the deck we have? Just, did we measure square footages in that or something similar?
Yeah.
Just to get an idea. I really don't want to fail here.
It feels similar, but I haven't put a tape.
Okay, so we can do that.
We should verify.
Yeah.
Okay,
Absolutely. We'll do that.
okay, and let's see, who hasn't? Counselor Tukalski?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I have a number of questions that I've been writing down the whole time. First of all, I wanted to start off by saying I like option number 2, if you could bring that up. I did have a question. Is the total length of the stretch pool 25 yards with the bulkhead as well? Or is it?
No, it's
25
25 yards
plus.
bulkhead and then 3 additional lanes.
Okay.
Yes.
That was my question.
No, it's,
That's great. I am the person that asked about the 10-lane last time. I did it just because I wanted to understand the cost difference and not that I wanted it. And after seeing what it costs, seeing the extra maintenance, seeing the extra seating that's required, the mechanical room that's required, it doesn't seem reasonable to me, considering that it's not going to increase the ROI and we're not going to be competitive in the 10-lane area. So I would like to stick with an 8-lane. And I will also retract my statement about the bulkhead last time. It sounds like a lot of work was done on that one. I was concerned about that. It sounds like you've alleviated most of those concerns. So I would be in support of the 8-lane with the bulkhead. One thing that I did ask about last time, the food truck space, is that on the west side? On the vendor space, or is that the east side?
East side.
East side, okay, right. So it's right as people are walking in.
and it
Okay.
gives good exposure from the road and as people approach.
Right, okay. No, that sounds great.
And the plan there, Dan, is for it to be a flexible event space, so it'll have 50 amp electrical hookups, so you're not listening to the generators on the food trucks all the time. So the plan wasn't to put in grease trap separators and those maintenance headaches for staff to manage, and so food trucks would pull up, serve, plug into power. Other than that, they leave, and then you could use that for, a summer fun setup or something like that. So you have additional maybe concerts in the park or something like that there as well.
That'd be great. And then also, did you include water in that area and propane?
No, the only utility amenity was power.
Okay,
Similar discussion about water and sanitary, just creating
okay.
kind of an ongoing maintenance concern.
I'm just considering that if you're going to set it up with power and also drainage, you might as well put everything else in there that they could use as well, make it easy.
To be clear, right now, I don't think we're providing drainage. We're providing power, and then assuming that the cart's self-contained. That by the time we have sanitary sewer, there's
Yeah.
other needs. There's
supportive.
freeze traps and other things to maintain once you do that.
Right.
So that's where we're at today, but some of those decisions are probably de minimis compared to what we're talking about of the overall bond.
Okay, I'm just thinking the easier you can make it for those folks, the better. I encourage them to be there. I do support the community center room as well. I did have a concern about the lack of seating because if we no longer have an armory or the community center, we have to have someplace to have community events that'll accommodate those. And you said that the price of the bleachers, retractable bleachers, is included in option 2?
The price of movable bleachers is included in all of the options, so the sort of three-tiered, movable bleachers. The cost for the retractable is not included in any of them, except in this sort of amalgamation at the end where we did.
That was the extra 200,000.
Oh, actually, no, I take that back. We did not include that in any of it. So all of these would be an additional $200,000 for that scale of.
For the retractable or for the move?
For the
Okay.
retractable,
But the movable has been included?
yes.
Mayor, may I ask Councilor Tukalski a clarifying question?
Yes, you may.
Councilor Tukalski, you said you preferred option 2. If you look at the beginning of the presentation, option 2 does not include the community room. You look at the end of the presentation, option 2 does include the community room. So which option 2 were you referring to?
Option 2 with community room.
Okay, thank you.
I think the community room is a requirement. If we're liquidating other assets around the city, we need to have space. And if we don't build it, we won't have it. What else did I have? I did the math on the 3,600 square feet, council president, and meeting fire code requirements. You've got 240 occupants if it's with tables and chairs. And an open event room with just a row of chairs accommodates 514 people. So if that's helpful, yeah. If it's standing room only, that's 720 people. But I could see it being used more as chairs, so 514. The other reason I liked option number 2 is the lowest price per square foot while doing the math. And then the May 2.4% increase, if we wait until May, how is that 2.4 calculated? Because it's coming out to about 1.5 million, 1.53 million on option.
It should be on the total. Did you put it on the construction costs only, or is it on the soft costs as
I
well?
put it on the construction cost
Yeah.
only.
That's maybe the difference you're seeing. So we're assuming that everything would bid to the market 6 months later.
Okay.
An increase of 2.4% in construction costs.
Yes, although you do then put the 32% soft cost on top of that, so in some ways you get a little bit of that.
Yeah, additional.
Yeah,
Everything.
in the soft cost too.
Okay. Then one final question, if I may. Last time I had asked about the breakdown of the site work. There was nothing included in that, and I haven't seen that tonight.
We just have to press next.
Sorry, somehow that is not showing up.
Hold, please.
Yes, I'm going to stop
No, we
sharing.
heard you
It's
and
here,
have that
yes.
information as well.
I figured you did. You've answered every other question. Thank you.
And taking copious notes.
Oh, it's in. Apologies, that was hiding. Let me share again.
So again, we're at a level of detail where we're using other project costs to interpolate where we're at.
Of course. Yeah, last time it was just a blanket 7.2 something.
And here you go. So that we picked one of the options. I think we had estimated 6 or 7 at this point. And that is, you're seeing everything from surveying to earthwork to utilities to paving. That's the level of detail we're generally at right now. Those are the kind of things we can measure. I can't tell you how many lineal feet of 12-inch ductile iron sewer piping there is, but I can estimate based on other projects what we might expect.
And just as a understanding, this was based on the smallest building footprint, which then has the greatest.
Most site.
Most site. So if you do one of the bigger buildings, this number will actually come down just a touch.
Right. What does the 31.00 earthwork, what do those numbers mean?
So in our crazy contractor world, we put division numbers to certain cost categories. That's division 3,100, 31,000 at CSI.
All right, and just for clarity, the future sports activity and the event overflow parking, that would just be greens.
Yeah,
grass
no work at all there.
Right.
The end of the contractor's work will end at the edge of the improved building, essentially. That's just a placeholder for something in the future.
Okay.
So unapproved.
Also, thank you for the detail and also the bringing all of the questions back with answers and the great presentation. Thank you.
Thanks for the feedback.
Counselor Gary, you had something?
We had initial conversations around potentially cleaving the property in two to reduce the required site work. Is that what this assumption is made on?
Actually, I think as that conversation was the improvement of Riverside Drive.
Yeah.
And I think right now in the budget, we have the entire length
Okay.
of the parcel. There is a potential that if that parcel was cut in half, that it may not require improvement down the whole length, but you're on the safe side right now.
Okay, very good.
Counselor Cunningham or Benner, do you have, Counselor Cunningham?
Yeah, sure. One, I greatly appreciate that that we were able to move the viewing area for the staff to be able to cover both pools. And I'm also wondering kind of off of the mayor's comments, and that I've been in our pool area a handful of times, so I don't know the layout. Maybe one of my other counselors can help me. I'm wondering if some of that feeling of deck space is that there's no definitive wall between the warm-up area and the current one, whereas this one, the wall really does kind of create a tighter deck space feeling. And I can appreciate that when we go to a district meet, we're taking over everything anyways, so there's gonna be no place for anybody anyways. With that being said, I think all of our questions have been answered fairly well.
Counselor Benner, do you have something that you'd like to share?
Just feedback, option 2 seems great. I feel like it would be really easy to get into the arms race on pool size. And if we stay focused on sort of the routine uses as opposed to the one-ups. And I like the idea of more community space and bleachers in the gymnasium. I think we all have fond memories of our children pretending to be in Christmas plays.
Yeah.
Not sure if it was torture or pleasure, but fond memories. And so having a place where, should the armory not be available, we can still have those community activities.
Counselor Cunningham?
I think early on, you said that in the gymnasium where we're talking about some of the seating, that you did add the kind of the area in which it would exist. And so kind of to the point of us talking about, could we add on the community room? This area is going to exist. And so those bleachers, if we deem like we really do miss having 400 people in here, could be built in, and it wouldn't be nearly as big of an issue.
100%.
Yeah, thank you.
I think that's a different way of asking something I was going to also ask, but the addition of the bleachers, risers, however we get there, doesn't come, you've added space so that it does not come at the detriment of the programming we had wanted, correct? So it can still be a fully functional, basketball court, pickleball, all that. The same, if those are added and you've got space for those. Okay.
And the 400 seating on the bleachers is the same whether it's the modular or the pull-out? It's going to be less of the modular that you've included, I'm assuming.
So the plan in the middle that has the red bar, that is the pull-out bleachers, 14 rows of bleacher seating. That would give you the 400 seating capacity. And then you could expand on that if you want to have just chairs on the floor too. The option where, on the right, is where we have the movable bleachers. They're really, recreation seating, put your bags there. And
Stuff.
they're only, 1 or 2 rows, could be up to 3. They collapse and might be stored in the storage room or just off, or perhaps even in that alcove area if you don't take it all up with the retractable seating. You might be able to, have it serve both functions too. but depending on how many of the bleacher seats you want.
But to be abundantly clear, I don't believe we have 400
No.
seats in option B.
That's correct.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, so option B are similar to those seats you see at Patton or Dunaway or at like the Beaverton Hoop.
Right. I just wanted to make
And-
sure everybody knew that.
You know, there's not, the other element that there's not in this design is a stage like there is in the community center. And so having that elevated seating from the retractable is going to give you a better vantage point if you were wanting to host a school play or something of that nature.
Okay. Any other comments? Counselor Tukalski?
Could you go back to the number that, it's like I don't remember what it's called, the contingency number? It's like, we haven't talked about that at all.
You want to see this, where it's the total breakdown or just the two
No, it was more of,
piece?
basically I forget what it's called.
The 32% soft
Yeah.
cost.
Oh, the
30
soft
yeah.
cost. You want to see the breakdown of it?
Well, it's just a really large number. It's concerning. You're talking like 20 million or so?
Yes.
Do you have that?
I do
breakdown?
actually have that
I
set.
think
I'm
we
going to
can
stop
share that.
sharing again and come back. Hidden at the end of
There is owner's contingency in that number, but it's not the totality of it.
Yeah, there's a 10% under
Architecture and
contingency.
permits and furniture, fixtures and equipment. We'll show you a breakdown here in a
Yeah.
second.
The contingency you're thinking of, Chris, is that 10% of that. So you can see up there on that breakdown, but owner contingency is 10% of that 32%.
10% would be a third of the 32 essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you took the current bond number and multiplied it by that 10%, you'd see about what contingency you have as a jurisdiction.
Is that the total contingency built into this project?
There is a contractor's contingency as well that is smaller than that. Between those two, you might have 15% or something like that. But again, we're making cost decisions that are conservative in some ways and not in others. I mean, there's lots of trade-offs. You'll have lots of options as you go forward. This should be a budget you should be able to meet.
Counselor Peralta?
So, listening to the board, it sounds like most of the counselors that I've heard prefer the 8-lane, the movable bulkhead with the fixed retractable seating for the gymnasium, and then there's some discussion, but it seemed like mostly support for the community room. Did that line up with everybody's?
Yeah, I agree.
I'm not so passionate about the seating in the gym, but I defer to the majority.
Yeah, I'm just a little concerned about the price point, but I can be swayed.
And remind me again, the last bond we did was 100 million?
Was 98?
98 and a half.
0.5, yep. Any
Thank you.
And none of these numbers you saw tonight include any acquisition costs of the property. This is just the facility.
So we're yes, Counselor Benner?
Do we know what that cost is?
3.8.
Okay, thank you.
More importantly, do we have another way to fund that?
There's other avenues, but that's a policy decision for you all.
And we're not going to talk about tonight.
Could be Parks STCs if we have in the pros plan to include that site. It could be a loan through Mac Water and Light, providing the commission is amicable to that. I've had those conversations with the general manager, and there is appetite for that, but it still needs to be presented to the commission and agree on terms. And then you'd have an ongoing cost until that's paid off.
And how much do we have in the Park SDCs right now? Over 3 million, don't we?
A little over 4.
A little over 4, I believe, off the top
Closing of the budget, next budget.
I had a question.
Counselor Tukalski?
City Manager Garvin, would you say the price was 3.4-ish?
3.8, I believe.
1.8?
Yep.
Was that included in the last bond?
It was.
Okay.
It
So,
was included as well as about, I want to say, close to 9 million for like park development, redoing Upper City Park, included $1 million for the existing pool facility. That was unidentified what that $1 million would go towards, but there was a number of other things in that 98.5 million. But when you put on 18 months of construction cost escalation to do that same 98.5 million in May of 27, you would be well over 100 million.
okay.
Okay, with that information, let's talk this through. Are we at 2, or do somebody want to, I know 2 seems to be the most common option, but with the add-ons? We're having a little discussion over
Yeah.
here.
Okay.
I said we've kind of talked about option 2, but we really need to confirm if we are on board with add-ons, looking at the amount of money this is going to come to in May.
So my comment to that would be a $220,000 purchase in the middle of a bond is not much. A $220,000 purchase out of our general fund later probably won't happen. So just to consider that on the seating. A $1.6 million build for a community room in a bond, I see that as being possible. A $1.6 million, 1.7, well, it'll be much more than that later, probably closer to 2 or 2.5, naming rights regardless, happening with our budget later is not going to happen. So if we want it, it needs to be part of the bond. If we don't want it, just accept that's what's going to end up happening if it's not part of the bond.
Counselor Tukalski?
I'd also add that there's a hidden cost of basically staff time and labor when you're moving things around all the time and reorganizing and moving just moving these things all over the place. It's not going to be easy, and it's going to be time consuming, and having these things the ease of use and the system itself will probably pay for itself rather quickly. And yeah, overall though, I mean, I'm sitting here with Excel, and we have, including the cost of the land, we've reduced this from basically 98.5 to 90.18, which, I mean, we've saved 8.32 million from the previous bond.
If we go in November.
If we go in November. I think that's great. And I think option 2 with the bulkhead and the A-lands is a great option with the community room, and it seems like a win.
Okay, so Counselor Tukalski is basically putting it out there for option 2 with which includes the community room. So if I'm looking at the last option too, including the bleachers. Counselor Cunningham? What do you think? Yes, no?
Yeah, I just have a question. Obviously, what we're deciding on here is the building itself, not the totality of the bond, correct? Because, I mean, obviously it affects the totality of the bond, but unless we're completely getting rid of the senior center, library, and other parks upgrades, then it gets closer to that. But we also, and I think in the original bond, had $5 million to deal with the pool, the existing pool.
1.5
$1 million? Oh.
million and a half.
Million and a half. Sorry for my misspeaking there. So $1.5 million, and so that's also not included in this price. So are we just discussing this specific building and these specific options, or are we actually discussing like the bond, because we're talking about November and May as well?
Our January work session, the direction I got from this body was to bring back a package that was just this facility.
Okay.
If there's a change in direction on that and you guys want to add things back in, we can discuss those. But I would have been under the pretense that you guys wanted to just go for a building and potentially the land acquisition costs included.
That is what we said. So where are you? Are you good with two? Chris? Counselor Chenoweth, question?
So, legally speaking, if we go through this process and we build this, and I don't know who I'm asking this to, so I'm going to look around. Whoever takes this can take it. If we go through this process and we get to the end and we have, say, 1.5 million left in contingency, just picking a number off the top of my head, can we utilize those funds to redevelop the old pool site so we're not leaving a disaster there as part of this?
I'm going to look to Jeff or Katie on that one. Sorry to put you on the spot.
My understanding is it depends on how we phrase the wording within the bond itself. So if we were to include other costs such as the disposal of and cleanup of the old site, then we would be okay to use it for that.
Chris, in the school board parlay, when we went to bond, we got a really good rate and a huge windfall, and we were able to spend that money on the items that were not listed out. So I know we can do it. I think doing the paperwork ahead of time.
Yeah, I'm just laying the foundation to make sure that's done.
Yeah, because as we know, Redmond ended up with more money with their bond and was able to put in fields. So Counselor Gary?
Yeah, I think part of it is the timing question I had for the group potentially gets at, the current costs we're looking at over the 80. I think the 80 was a good basic package that we had put together for a good facility. Now we're talking about what of value do we want to increase to? Do we want to add the community room? Do we feel strongly about that? Here's the cost to do that. Do we want to get to this 8-lane adjustable bulkhead? A good investment, is that over what we think the base 80 million cost, and is it worth it? So I guess the question, I'm in support of that option B, 8-lane, 25-yard community room. Sure, I like that. So that gets at, if we're going to wait into, November, the paperwork is due from this council at our, an August work session or an August meeting, basically, and I don't think that's enough time to get a preponderance of this group on board actively. So I'm assuming May, so I'd be curious what engagement you would like to do with the community and polling, because could we poll against some of those key elements that we've been talking about? And if it isn't something that the community is responding to, we have sort of a fallback built in at an $80 million path. We've paved the way for a couple of iterations. We could poll against those or fall back to those if we aren't getting responses we like on that. So curious what that roadmap would be from this group on what they want to see for a May vote and how we want to interact with the community heading up to that.
Counselor Chenoweth?
I don't know that I accept the supposition that November is not doable, number one. Number two, I think the increase in cost, you start diminishing returns on polling when the increase in cost is not substantial. And it is, $6 million is substantial, I guess, but I just think we're getting close to that, where it's not that big of a difference to justify the polling for it. I know the reason I'm pushing hard for the community room is from the very first day I was elected to this seat, I was getting pushed from the community that I can't believe we're dropping amenities such as rental rooms. And particularly the one that was the biggest one was what gym's been able to be used for in the past, which is why I brought the bleachers in. I heard that almost day one. So I'm confident that where I'm coming from is from a perspective that I think this large portion of our community wants. So I don't know that polling is necessary unless you're wanting to do, and I know this is a pejorative and I don't mean it this way, but unless you're trying to do a push poll to help encourage the numbers, that may be worthwhile, but to the outcome that's wanted. That being said, I don't know that I accept the underlying premise that November doesn't work.
Counselor Tukalski?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. With respect to the polling that you've asked about, I guess I'll go back. The MacPac did a lot of work over many years to come up with a lot of community input to create what they had proposed. Obviously, this is not the same, but it's obviously a derivative of that. The people have already told us what they want. The votes was very close last time, everybody knows that. And so at this time, I wouldn't support asking for more opinions because we've had years of opinions. And waiting until May costs another $1.53 million in just construction increases. And that can get burned very quickly on, opinions which don't add value because we've already had their opinions for a long time. I'm not interested in polling.
A little concerned about going to November, though. Can you tell us about how that would affect our staff?
Yeah, going to November, it would basically be, if you guys gave that direction tonight, it would be an all-out sprint to make that happen. We'd have to get bond counsel in here, potentially for your work session next week or the 28th meeting. You'd have to draft ballot language, and then that would have to be submitted the first part of August. You're putting that burden on Claudia, who's also running the city council races. So it's not impossible. I'm not saying that it is, but it would be a very, very heavy lift. And I don't even know if bond council is available for one of those 2 meetings we have, so it might be a special meeting to fit their calendar.
Councilor Chenoweth?
I appreciate all those words, and I certainly, one of my things from beginning of being on council is being cognizant of the amount of workload, particularly we're putting on the planning department or the community development department. So I get that. I don't, if we're putting too much, just say no. Is I guess my perspective.
He said no.
Was that saying no?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's too much.
Then I'm done.
Let's just cut to the chase.
I have a question for the counselor. Chris, you had talked about you've since day one, you're bringing things into your support for option 2. I'm curious if we're, as a group, kind of moving forward with option 2, and it's got things in there that are sort of wins for you and your constituents, not you, your constituents. What does your support for this project moving forward look like?
Way to ask a loaded question. You didn't get any negativity from me the last time around, and publicly at all. I mean, like zero. And at the very least, you're going to have that from me. Whether you're going to get full-throated support or not, I mean, I'm still cognizant of the fact that at the end of the day, I've got 26% of my residents that are currently rent burdened. And a lot of them live in my ward. And so at the end of the day, it's hard for me to be enthusiastic about an increase to what I know is going to eventually be an increase on their bill. So whether you'll get a full-throated support from me, I can't give you that, Counselor. At this point, I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but I just can't say that I'm going to do that. I'd have to really think hard about that. But you're not going to get pessimism from me.
To the man that added $2 million to it, now doesn't want to give support.
I'm trying to help
Let me
get
just be
this to
honest
the
here.
end. I mean, one of the concerns I have, if we want to be completely fair, one of the concerns I really have, and it was brought up to my right, is that my memory of the polling data was that it was really clear if the senior center was not on that ballot, it makes it very hard to pass.
One thing, though, to state about this is you have the community room and you do have the gym of the bleachers, so some of the seniors can use this space.
There will need to be really good messaging on that point, and so part of what I'm doing in these conversations is trying to help get the package to where it needs to be, that you have a better chance to get this thing over. So I'm doing my part here,
Right.
if I can put it that way.
And so, lessons learned from the campaign trail, we need all of the policymakers on this group to be active supporters, or a preponderance of this group to be active supporters. If we're going to put it out to the vote and sort of passively watch what happens, I think we're wasting our time and effort and resources in doing that. And a hope, it needs to be more than a hope that people support it. We need a package that we're all willing, or most of us are willing, to go out and fight for.
Counselor Peralta.
Well, I'm certainly willing to advocate for the 8-lane, 25-yard stretch with the bulkhead and the amenities that we've discussed. So, and the mayor and I talked about doing some joint appearance, maybe at the farmer's market and things just to promote it once we get to the point where we have an agreement on this body for what we're going forward with. I feel like we're really close to that right now. So I appreciate the work that everybody's on the body's done. I appreciate the consultants' work in terms of keeping these numbers, even though we're going to be 2 years out from the last one, and we've been able to keep the cost down relative to the presumed increases. So I really appreciate the work that you've done. It looks like a beautiful facility. I think it's going to be great for the city. Look forward to moving forward on this.
Okay, so consensus, I just want some head nods or some yeses or nos. We're looking at option 2 with community room that will hopefully meet some of those other needs, and bleachers. Counselor Cunningham, what are you thinking?
I'll support that I don't necessarily think we need the bleachers.
Okay, Counselor Chenoweth, give us your opinion real quick. Okay, Counselor Peralta, you're on board, you already said. Counselor Geary?
Yeah, same, and with the bleachers, and then just want to add, don't share as much passion for the bleachers. The two things also I'd like to tack on are a bond package that doesn't include the cost of property acquisition. I'd like us to pursue property acquisition otherwise, and I can't remember the second, a roadmap for us to engage the community going forward, because, my rough math is basically 7 months from today is our deadline at council level for that next election. So it's quick also.
Counselor Tukalski, you talked about option 2. You still on board there?
Yeah, and I'd also like to remind everybody that the Water Fitness has the morning movers and also rock and roll arthritis on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So, this is a place where the seniors do use this area. So, and I do know that it's heavily overcrowded. So I think that would be nice to have increased space. Yes, I do support this, and also with the community room and also with the bleachers that are fixed and extending.
Okay, Counselor Benner?
Yes.
Okay. I support it as well. A little concerned about the price tag, but I think because we're meeting some of those needs that the seniors need with the community room and the bleachers, I'm going to be on board. I do really want to make sure that we have enough deck space, though, in that pool area so that we're not going backwards. And anything else you want from us?
Just, I'm still,
Counselor Benner?
sorry. Still learning the sign language, but do we have a consensus that November is not doable?
I think we're kind of taking the direction from our staff that it would be a very hard thing to do.
Thank you.
The last thing to clarify is you guys are all good with the 400 seats. Okay,
As long as we find other room.
thank you.
Counselor Tukalski.
Yeah, just one more thing.
Running out of time.
I know. Just one more thing on the senior citizen thing. Whilst visiting the senior center a number of times, their yoga classes are at max, and people show up frequently and they're turned away because they don't have space physically, and the space that they do have is inadequately ventilated, and just it's not a great space. So the community room would be a great spot for that as well, or just the gymnasium. So I think that meets more senior needs than I think this meets more senior needs than we are perceiving. So, thank you, that's it.
Counselor Ray, did you have a last statement?
Cannonball.
All right. If there's
I'll
no-
challenge you to that.
Okay, so thank you very much for being here and listening to us ramble up here and ask all the questions and listening to us last time and bringing it back. So we do appreciate that. It is 6:54 and I'm going to close this meeting. Thank you.
Recording stopped.
Yes.
We'll be back at 7:05. Okay, it's 7:04.
Recording in progress.
Thank you. It is 7:04 on July 14th, and we are going to call the meeting to order. Claudia?
Counselor Tukolsky,
Oh, yeah, I'm first.
Counselor Chenoweth,
Better you than me here.
Counselor Benner,
Here.
Counselor Geary,
Good evening.
Counselor Cunningham,
Wow, this is the latest I've ever been. Here.
Council President Peralta,
Here.
and Mayor Morris.
Here. If you're able to stand, please stand and join me in the pledge. Now it's time for a public comment. Any interested audience members are invited to provide comments, and any comment provided that requires some type of follow-up will be assigned to a staff member. Anyone may speak on any topic other than a matter in litigation, a land use decision that is or will be in front of the city council, or a matter scheduled for public hearing at some future date. Comments will be limited to 4 minutes per person for a total of 32 minutes. If you are on Zoom and wish to speak, please use the raise your hand feature or chat feature and send a chat to the city recorder team. You will need to provide your contact information prior to being promoted to speak. Once your turn is up, we will announce your name and unmute your mic. Please announce your name and the city you live in when you speak. Claudia, do we have anybody signed up?
No one signed up.
Okay, is there anybody in the civic hall that's wanting to speak tonight? Okay, then we will move on. First thing we have is a public hearing to consider resolution number 2026-25, a resolution adopting a building fee schedule. Does any counselor need to declare a potential or actual conflict of interest or recuse themselves regarding this public hearing? Okay, now I'd like to call on Heather Richards, Community Development Director, to give a presentation on the topic. Hi, Heather. You have a guest.
Yes, so good evening, Mayor and councilors. This is my once-a-year opportunity to introduce Stuart Ramsey, our building official, to you and the public.
Hey, Stuart, thanks for being here.
Green light you there, Stuart.
Thank you.
Hot mic. So I just today, 2 people have shared with me that they think Stuart is the best building official they've ever worked with. I've said that for years. And I've worked with several building officials and just feel really thankful that Stuart, when I asked him to join us on a temporary contract for 6 months, 8 years ago, is still with us. So we're very lucky to have him.
We're totally off script here.
Yeah, there's no script, Stuart. Anyways, for your building fee schedule, this is our annual public hearing to look at the building fee schedule and updates to it. We use the same CPI index for this fee schedule as we do for planning and engineering. So we use the 2.9% CPI index from January 25 to January 26. What's unique about this building fee schedule is it also has 50% reduction for qualifying affordable housing projects, but we cap that at $75,000 per calendar year. The building fund is intended to operate like an enterprise fund, so people pay fees to support providing the building program services. And we felt that that's where we felt the most comfortable in sort of offering that reduction. That's what we've been doing since 2017, I believe, with that. Each year, we adopt a new resolution for the fee schedule, and that's included in each resolution, and the previous resolutions are repealed. We have to notify the Oregon Building Codes Division, so the state agency, 45 days in advance of the public hearing, so that they can post it on their website for the industry users, developers throughout the state. So we did do that. This fee schedule would become effective on August 1. And Stuart is here to answer any specific questions you may have about it.
Okay. Any counselors have any questions in regards to the schedule that was in the packet?
Can you explain how the,
Counselor Benner?
oh, sorry. Just launched right in. Mayor, I do have a
Yes,
question.
you may. Go ahead.
The cap at 75,000, is that sort of chronological, or do we ever reach that? And so if there's a big development that comes in, affordable housing, they could use it up and the next development rolls in?
Yes, and that is exactly what does happen. So it's done on a calendar year. Stuart keeps track of that. If we do have a big project come in, it's first come, first serve. It could max it out for the building permit fees. We still, for the planning and engineering fees, it's for all fees throughout the calendar year, because that is general fund supported. But for the building program, since it's not general fund supported, we do have that cap.
And we've experienced it maxing out.
Yes, on several years,
Yeah.
when we have large projects come in.
Thank you.
Yeah, the Stratus project, which is complete, and the Valley Vista project, which is under construction now, both maximize that $75,000 cap.
Yeah. I would say now that we have the construction excise tax program, there's an opportunity for the city to backfill that reduction. So let's say we have two large projects come in on the same year, and we want to be able to offer that program to both projects, but the first one maxes it out. The city could use the construction excise tax funds to provide that reduction to the second project and pay the building program for it.
Okay, any other questions? Well, that was,
Thank you.
yep. Do we have anybody signed up to testify? No? Do we have any on Zoom or phones?
There's people on Zoom, but no one has raised their hand.
Okay, is there anybody in the Civic Hall that wants to make a comment? Okay, any last questions for Counselor? Okay, so that concludes our public testimony for this evening. And staff, I'm sure you have nothing else to add, but it tells me to ask you. And I will close the public hearing, 7:10. Okay, we're going to go to our consent agenda. Does any counselor need to remove anything from the consent agenda? Okay, do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
So I have a motion from Counselor Cunningham and a second from Counselor Geary. Any additional discussion? Claudia?
Counselor Tukolsky?
Aye.
Counselor Chenoweth?
Aye.
Counselor Benner?
Aye.
Counselor Geary?
Aye.
And Council President Peralta?
Yes.
What about me?
Oh my gosh, I missed you. Sorry, Counselor Cunningham.
Aye.
You are last tonight.
The consent agenda has passed unanimously.
And Doug Kaiser, you were part of the consent agenda in Duffy's, and it passed. So you're good. You're welcome. I saw you there. I want to make sure you knew. Thank you. Now we're going to go to consider Resolution 2026-25, a resolution adopting a building fee schedule. Call on Heather Richards, Community Development Director.
Nothing to add, Mayor.
Okay. Any other questions? Do I have a motion to consider resolution number 2026-25, a resolution adopting a building fee schedule?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Counselor Geary, a second from, was that Counselor Benner? Okay, great. Any additional questions? Claudia?
Counselor Tukolsky?
Aye.
Counselor Chenoweth?
Nay.
Counselor Benner?
Aye.
Counselor Geary?
Aye.
Counselor Cunningham?
Aye.
Council President Peralta?
Yes.
Resolution 2026-25 passes with 5 ayes and 1 nay.
Thank you. All right, so we're through that work. We're going to go on to our advice and information items, which are the reports from the counselors and our directors. And tonight I'm going to start with Katie from Finance.
Thank you, Mayor. My time over this last month, I have been to the Government Finance Officers Association Conference in Chicago. That was extremely beneficial. It had been several years since I had the opportunity to go to this conference. I haven't had a chance to debrief with Adam yet, so I'm going to save the specifics on it until we decide together which items to bring back to you and which will become projects for the year. But there was some interesting information on new criteria for budget awards which have much more to do with how we communicate to our citizens on the budget and the transparency related to it, as opposed to the big fat book and everything that needs to go in it. So that was really interesting to see. And there are some new accounting standards because they don't like to leave the statements the way they are too long. Every couple of years, they've got to change how we account for things. So we do have a new way of accounting for things as of June 30th. So we'll be implementing those for this new audit. So you'll see a few changes coming up.
Okay, thank you. Planning Director Heather Richards.
Yes, thank you. So I wanted to share a little bit about our historic preservation program that's underway right now. You have at your desk our new copies of the Stroll booklet and then the Uncover McMinnville booklet. Both of those are booklets that we reprinted to support the MAC 150 celebration. They highlight our historic properties in town as a walking tour. So the Stroll booklet operates as a walking tour for the downtown, and then Uncover McMinnville operates as a walking tour for our neighborhoods. We worked with some local historians to update the stories that are in here and the history that is in here. So these are new booklets in terms of that. We will be starting to distribute them in August. We're going to start a media program to talk about the booklets themselves. We're going to highlight some stories in there. We're going to highlight some of the poster graphics. The poster graphics are owned by the city of McMinnville. We use them for posters and coasters and things of that nature throughout the month of August. We're also going to bring back a popular program we had when we first did the Uncover McMinnville booklet in 2022, which is putting yard signs in front of the buildings that are highlighted in here. The yard signs will have QR codes, and so when you use the walking tour and walk around to look at the different historic properties, you'll be able to access the QR code and get more information on that. We sent out a mailing today to the property owners who are highlighted in here to let them know of that process and to encourage their participation. The last time we did it, we had most property owners participate and they all really enjoyed it. So we'll have that up for the month of August too, to highlight the MAC 150 celebration. We've also reprinted a how-to booklet, and we sent out a mailing on that today to all of our properties that are in the what we call the A and B classification. So those are the higher classifications of historic resources. We have a couple hundred properties in that classification. The how-to booklet talks a little bit about the property itself and why it's on the inventory, what you need to do to restore or update it in terms of process, and then provides resources that people can access to help them identify the best methodologies for restoring their historic properties. We will have that booklet also online on our website for people as a resource. Another piece we did that I'm really excited about is this is all grant funded through what we call a certified local grant program. We also commissioned a research project on the Chinese settlement in McMinnville using our primary resources. So that looked at the history of Chinese settlement here through the Sanborn maps, through primary resources, newspapers, census records, things of that nature. It confirms some of the stories we've heard. It's added new stories to the mix as well and refined some of the stories that we've heard too. What we're going to do with that information is we're going to also print a booklet for that to distribute to folks in terms of that history, but we will start in the month of August highlighting those stories too. Lastly, the Star Mill Way project that we want to restore that was damaged with the traffic accident that occurred last year. We have been working internally on that due to the amount of projects that the Public Works team is working through. We had an internal discussion about maybe that's something we can bring to the Historic Landmarks Committee. It's in their bailiwick. It needs to be restored from the perspective of historic preservation. Is it something that they would like to take lead on and sort of reach out to the community and the vendors, appropriate vendors, to bring in some proposals? They have agreed to do that, so we'll be working with a subcommittee of members from the Historic Landmarks Committee to put that project together and then bring that to the Public Works team to implement. So, and lastly, we're in discussions about that plaque that was associated with that and also updating that. And we'll be using some of the history that we learned through the Chinese History Project and working with our Asian Heritage Association on that program. So excited to see these projects come to bear and start to be distributed into the community through the month of August.
Great. Thank you for all that work. Attorney David Lightberg,
Thank you, Mayor. Nothing from the legal department tonight.
City Manager Adam Garvin.
Thank you, Mayor. From the Communications Department, Noel would like to draw your attention to your Q2 employee newsletter. That's got a council update. It was in your inboxes late last week, as well as there's a list in there of all the city employees that were hired over the last quarter and a bunch of other interesting facts, so be sure to take time to read that. The MAC 150 planning continues to be underway. The quilt kits are going to be going out this Saturday at the McMinnville Arts Festival Summer Fun Booth, and then the last drop for those will be at the July 28th concert in the park, and those quilt kits will form a community quilt project for the MAC 150. And then ODOT is also running their virtual open house on their 99 corridor safe intersection improvements. There was an email sent out about that, as well as there's some stuff on our social media if you wanted to participate in that open house. As far as what I've done since the last council meeting, I attended the school district long-range planning committee meeting before we went on our summer break, which is informing what's going to be accomplished with the passage of their November 27 bond, which is just a renewal of their existing tax rate. They're not going for any additional. Had a monthly with John from Mac Water and Light. Attended the Water and Light groundbreaking on their new facility with the mayor. Attended a LOC presentation by LOC President Patty Mulville. Monthly meeting with Linfield, which we discussed parks, SDCs, joint use agreements, and future partnerships. Swearing in of a new officer at the PD that Cord invited us to. Local kid, and very happy to see him pursue his passion with that. And then just more city birthday planning today, so that continues to move forward.
Thank you. Councilor Benner?
I really was gone for most of the last 2 weeks. Did attend a EVLC meeting with Chris. Landscape, my first meeting will be tomorrow. That's all.
Thank you. Councilor Tukolsky?
Yeah, nothing new to report.
Councilor Geary?
Thank you. MURAC met and awarded a grant, but one of the new grants that's on the corner lot, so a little bit of an expanded grant, which I think will be coming back this way over to the Crown Creations building for some work on that. Visit McMinnville will be meeting tomorrow. Transportation system plan will be getting kicked off soon. I'm very, very, very excited about that. You heard updates on the Long Range Facilities Task Force, which I'm a part of. We're on summer break. And some other things, part of my city duties weren't assigned, but happily will accomplish tomorrow night. The Miners League team #1, the Orange Savannah Bananas, will be playing their final game that I'm coaching for. We've had a great season. But in all seriousness, all staff who is a part of making that season work, and any youth sports, making those work, all the volunteers and all the parents and guardians that help in any way, it's a great opportunity to be outside, and kids are having fun and moving their bodies, and it was a really good, productive time. So it was a lot of fun. And then looking at the summer fun calendar, tonight, right now, going on in City Park is the Wild Boys playing music. Tomorrow, 6 p.m., Art in the Park at Wortman. Thursday, the 16th, 6 p.m., board game night at Two Dogs. See you there, Jeff. Saturday, the 18th, 11 a.m., Science Saturday. This theme is Be Amazed, B-E-E, buzz, buzz. That's my update. Thanks.
All right. So on June 24th was the McMinnville Water and Light official groundbreaking that City Manager Garvin spoke about. Looking forward to that project being complete in about 18 months. I had lunch with the McMinnville Economic Development Partnership staff, Patty Herzog and Heather Hadley Blank, talked about relationships and responsibilities throughout the city. In the afternoon on that day, was part of the interview committee, and this guy was with me for a MURAC member. June 25th was our monthly business visits with John Olson of the McMinnville Chamber of Commerce, and we visited Best Western, which is out by Lowe's, Roby's Furniture and Appliance, Thoroughbred Express Car Wash, and Tractor Supply. We try to go to them and find out how things are going, if they have anything to share that the city can help them with. Everybody was super positive. June 26th, I attended McMinnville Chamber of Commerce Greeters at See You Later Foundation, a foundation that helps children and parents of children under 18 that are diagnosed with a life-threatening illness. Had a meeting with GF Hunsaker, talked about public works and wastewater. June 30th, I attended a sneak peek of the new natural grocers, and then on July 1st, attended and spoke at the ribbon cutting. On the 1st, also attended the swearing in of new police officer Lucien Lefevre, and I was a guest speaker at Michael Book group. It was a men's group, and I provided updates and answered a lot of questions. For the 4th of July, went and visited the American Legion. Mike and I went out there. It was great to spend some time with those that have served our country, and then went on to the fantastic event that was at the fairgrounds. It was really nice and simple. July 6th was the McMinnville Mayor's Tour that took us to Amerson Precision Sheet Metal, which is a local business that started in a garage with Alan Amerson, is now grown to cover, I think it's 70,000 square feet. On the 8th, I attended a going away party for Officer Greg Park and then spent the afternoon with Chief Wood on a ride-along. That was enjoyable. On the 10th was our monthly Yamhill County Mayor's meeting, and I'm thrilled to say that there were 6 mayors out of the 9 that were able to show up. Guest speaker was Sheriff Elliott. We talked about YCOM, the recent increase in the city's dues, which we all know affected us at budget time, and future concerns of radio communication and how that will work throughout the city and the county. Yesterday, I met with Dan Gibson and John Olson, so visit McMinnville and the Chamber. We talked about air show and strategizing for what's going to happen next year, but we're looking forward to this year's air show, which will be next month, about a month from now. Also met yesterday with Superintendent Courtney Ferrua. We talked about CTE classes, which are the technical classes like welding, hospitality, and how we can connect those more with local businesses, put them in contact with Amerson Precision in the welding. I also had the opportunity to ask if I can read a book to the K through 4 class when it comes back into session. Was donated a book by a program that came in the mail, and it's about voting. And so I'm going to go speak to the class and then donate the book. Claudia got to see the book to the library, the school library. Let's see, also had my one-on-one with Adam yesterday, my monthly one-on-one. And today, after my water and light meeting and meeting with Councilor Peralta, had the city's birthday meeting. Hot topics were the time capsule. And lastly, I met today with our auditors, or auditor, just one, which was great, and she asked a bunch of questions. Hopefully I answered them all right. Councilor Peralta.
Thank you, Mayor. Great job. MCM 11 met last Thursday. I had a meeting conflict that night. I will send the staff report to Claudia. Just want to make a note for the community that the McMinnville Arts Festival is this weekend downtown, Saturday the 18th from 10 to 6, and Sunday the 19th from 10 to 4. I also wanted to acknowledge the staff did a great job of sending out promotional videos and putting together little kits for people to do arts projects down there. So I really encourage the community to be out there for that. I also wanted to make sure council's aware I will be on vacation from the 21st and back on August 5th, so I won't be seeing everybody for a minute. That's my report. Thank you.
Councilor Chenoweth.
Yeah, so we haven't met yet for MWACT, although I do want to make a couple of comments about what's going on with ODOT in the area. So there's 2 open houses available on the ODOT website, one for the work that's going to be taking place on Highway 18 south, on the south side of McMinnville, or southeast side of McMinnville, between the 2 exit points. That will give you a current view of what they're planning on doing in 2027. It is going to bid in October. and that work will be done then. It is subject to change. The whole reason for the open house is to give people an opportunity to comment and make sure that if there's a problem, it's brought to their attention. The second one that is being done, going to bid in October, starting in 2027, they'll be doing the realignment of the roads around McDougal interchange, with a roundabout being built in 2028. That's the intended plan at this point, subject to change if ODOT sees better ways to get this done. Also, you probably have noticed a ton of sidewalks being done right down through the middle of town. That's not being done by the city of McMinnville. That's being done by ODOT as a consequence of a lawsuit that the state was not keeping up on those ramps. So hopefully we will hopefully get those done soon and not be dealing with this congestion through the middle of town as bad as it's been for the last little while. I think that's the MWAC report. The Parkway Committee has not met. MEVLC met, and there will be something coming to council, so I won't or take the bite out of that. I'll just wait till it comes on its own. And then lastly, I was able to attend the 250th celebration for our country at the fairgrounds put on by We Are Mac. They estimate over 1,000 people attended, including an F-15 that flew overhead roughly 27 minutes early. But it was a great program, great time, wonderful time. Enjoyed spending time with Kim and Mike. And lots of community members donated to make that happen, including Adam through Garvin's Auto Spa. So thank you very much for those that did and put their time and energy into it and money into it. We appreciate it. I think it was a great event for the community.
Thank you. Councilor Cunningham.
Thank you. First, I want to start off by saying Heather is absolutely right. Stewart is regarded as one of the best planners out there. We got to work with him when we were doing Pizza Capo, and Cheryl spoke very highly of Stewart. So Heather also stole most of my thunder with the HLC update. The only thing that I might add to that is there is some consideration of it's coming up on time for us to possibly do another survey, being that the last survey was done in the 80s. We're almost 50 years on, so now we'd be looking at anything that was basically 1976 on to potentially adding in that survey, but that will come down the road. I am sorry I was not able to join the 4th of July, but I can tell you if we can bring the fireworks that we shut off at Lincoln City, we would have a really good time here. So, and with that being said, I want to just make one recognition. I'm saddened once again that members in our community have been taken by ICE. I know that this has brought fear to many of our citizens. I also especially want to recognize the national deaths of Lorenzo Salgado Araujo and Juan Sebastian Guerrero. No one should ever lose their life during a detention. In both those cases, the actual targets of ICE were not even present. However, positive is that as of this afternoon, the government has ordered ICE to halt most vehicle stops while carrying out operations across the country. Thank you.
Claudia Cisneros, City Recorder.
On your dais, I placed the updated City Council Committee's assignment. There was only one change in red. I will upload that to the city website, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Information Systems, Scott Burke.
Sure. One thing we've been working on just with the start of the new fiscal year is working towards standardizing our video systems across the city, just starting with 7 cameras over at the police station that were recently replaced. Next up is going to be integrating the library cameras, moving to other city buildings. We're basically focusing on the goal of unifying all the camera systems into one. It's going to take some time, but the benefits of that will be substantial and worth the journey.
Thank you. HR Director Vicki Hedges.
Thank you, Mayor. We update on training, which was due June 30th. We are nearly complete. There's just 1% that are in progress and 1% that have not started yet. So we're working on getting those finished. That's great numbers and a lot better than we were last year at this time. So happy to see that. Also, one last update for council. I mentioned a couple of months ago that our insurance provider, CIS, was reviewing their plans. in making some significant changes for the upcoming 2027 year. Those plan selections are now out, and we have to make a decision as a city which plans we'll offer by the end of the month. And so we have sent out a survey to employees to get feedback on what's most important to them with their health insurance so that we can make plan selections that best fit the needs of our employees while trying to contain costs, of course. So that's all.
Thank you. Chief Cordwood?
Thank you. Next week on the 20th, Officer Jay Bustamante, Officer Michael Bass, and Officer Logan Kwan will start with McMinnville Police Department. Officer Bustamante is a lateral hire from a California law enforcement agency, so he's going to jump right into field training. Officers Bass and Officers Kwan are scheduled to go to DPSST that first week of August. Officer Renteria, who's been at DPSST for the last several weeks, is scheduled to graduate on the 31st, and he'll come back to MacPD and start his field training. Officer Lucian Lefebvre will still be at DPSST. He's about a third, maybe a little bit more through his time there at DPSST. And Officers Freeman and Hampton are both about halfway through their field training phases right now. So things going pretty well at the PD. We did have an opportunity to say goodbye to Sergeant Greg Park, who accepted a policing position at an Arizona law enforcement agency. So we wish him the best of luck in his new adventure. Final thing, MPD is still planning and getting prepared for National Night Out on August 4th. And so we're excited about that and hope to see everybody at Discovery Meadows.
Counselor Chenoweth has a question.
Not a question, a comment. We had an incident at my office that my wife had to call 911 for, and your field training officer Freeman was one of the folks that showed up, and just wanted to let you know my wife was very impressed with the way he handled himself and handled the situation.
Excellent. Excited to hear that.
Thank you. Public Works Director Jeff Hunsaker.
Yes, so as part of the budget this year, we took our plant supervisor position and split it into two, an operations supervisor and a maintenance supervisor. An internal candidate, Roy Carter, was hired to be our maintenance supervisor. And so now we're just working on that plant supervisor. That job is out now in recruitment. We today started our pavement patching project. They're starting over off 27th right now, and then next week we'll be moving over to Michael Brook and then Brookwood, hopefully right after that, or Brockwood, excuse me, right after that. As Councilor Geary mentioned, TSP is getting going. We signed that contract, and I gave notice proceed this evening while we were in council to the consultant. The first activity you all will see is on July 28th. There will be a joint work session with the Planning Commission and the City Council to have a TSP 101, explaining to the Council and the Planning Commission what it exactly is that we'll be doing over the next couple of years with that project. A big project we've been working on for the last couple of years is redoing the irrigation down at Joe Dancer Park. We finally got to a point where now all the sports fields are watered, which is a big lift. That's the lowest point in the city, so it's the highest water pressure, so it was a pretty big job to get that irrigation system figured out. We have been coordinating with ODOT on the 99 West ramps project. I've personally had multiple conversations with their project manager. We are trying to be as flexible with them as possible while maintaining safety for the construction workers out there. But if there's ever any concerns or anything the council has, please feel free to share them with me and I can pass them on to ODOT and their consultant or contractor. And let's see, the new McMinnville street sweepers out there. You'll see that going around town. We're really happy with the results we're getting so far. We think it's a better machine than what our contractor had been using previously, so it's looking pretty good, and we're excited about that and the product that we're going to be giving the city with the sweeping being done in-house now. And then finally, we did receive a letter from DEQ. It's a pre-enforcement notification for the 2 overflows we had in 2025 with wastewater, the 50,000 gallon release when we had a valve fail closed during a construction project, then our 600,000 gallon release during that December storm. Just because we've received the notification doesn't necessarily mean we're going to receive a fine or anything like that, but this is just the first step in the process where DEQ notifies us that, yes, we acknowledge that there were overflows, which we let them know about. And then they will be reviewing the information, then letting us know if there's any fines or any actions that we need to take moving forward. And that's all I have tonight.
Mayor?
Yes, Counselor?
I want to say I've personally got to witness the street sweeper in action multiple times now, and I'm very grateful. It does actually seem that we are already seeing a positive impact from that one. Thank you.
Great.
And thank you for, I assume it's your department that fixed the Gormley sign out here, and we now have water flowing again on it?
Yeah, that should have been our, I think that was probably Gianni and them.
Quinlan.
Quinlan.
Oh, Quinlan did it? Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you. So if you haven't noticed the Gormley sign out there, it's got water flowing. It's beautiful.
Yes, oh, wow.
Yeah. Yes.
Everyone's excited about the street sweeper. Have we considered naming it or having a naming contest?
Sweepy.
I know other communities have had like kids enter like a contest to have it named, and it's usually pretty cheesy.
Yeah, I'm happy to do something like that if the council's interested.
I'm interested, yeah.
Public works staff usually aren't that excitable about that kind of thing, but we could work that out. We could probably talk with Noel about something like that. If
Let's do it.
Okay.
I'll work with Noel on putting some on social media.
Thanks.
Get some engagement.
I hope that makes front news page. I hope that makes the front news that we're going to name our street sweeper. I think that's cute.
Yeah. We'll see what we get. Yeah.
Okay, did I miss anybody? All right, so our meeting is adjourned at 7:40, and we're going into urban renewal, so don't leave. So we are going to, at 7:40, call the McMinnville Urban Renewal Agency meeting to order. Claudia, do you need to take a roll call? Okay, thank you. We're going to consider resolution number 2026-06, a resolution appointing a McMinnville Urban Renewal Advisory Committee member. And I'd like to call on Heather Richards, Community Development Director.
Yes, so Mayor, this is an appointment to fill the appointment that was vacated by Dave Ruckless when he retired and moved to Boise. It's a term through December 31, 2027, and it's for a resident of the city limits. We advertised the position in the News Register and on social media. 5 people applied and 3 were interviewed. They were interviewed by the mayor, the council liaison, and myself as staff. And based on those interviews, the recommendation to you is to appoint Lynn Allen. Lynn is new to our community. She's been here about 2 years. And she comes with a strong background in business and business development. So collectively, the interview group thought it'd be great to have someone with sort of a new lens on that committee in terms of reviewing projects and also that business background as well. And so the resolution appoints her through December 31 of 2027.
Any councilors have any questions of Director Richards? Okay, do I have a motion to consider URA, so Urban Renewal Advisory Committee, Resolution number 2026-06, appointing Lynn Allen to the Murat Committee?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilor Benner, a second from Councilor Cunningham, excuse me, almost. Any other discussion? Claudia?
Counselor Tukolsky?
Aye.
Counselor Chenoweth?
Aye.
Counselor Benner?
Aye.
Counselor Geary?
Aye.
Counselor Cunningham?
Aye.
Council President Peralta?
Yes.
URA resolution number 2026-06 passes unanimously.
Great, thank you. Now we're going to move on to resolution number 2026-07, a resolution of the McMinnville Urban Renewal Board authorizing the McMinnville City Manager or designee to enter into a facade improvement grant contract with the property owners of 205 Northeast Ford Street for a grant of $10,000. I'd like to call on Heather Richards, Community Development Director.
Yeah, so thank you, Mayor. This is the work that MURAC did at their last committee that Councilor Geary was talking about during the council reports. This is a recommendation to you to award a $10,000 facade improvement grant for the property at 205 Northeast Ford Street. It's to replace windows in that property. Our grant program is set up where it's a one-to-one match, and so the total cost of that project to replace windows is $28,763. There's $150,000 in the urban renewal budget for fiscal year 27 for property assistance. Our property assistance program consists of 3 components. We have the facade improvement grant, which is what we're talking about tonight. That's the smaller exterior elevation improvements. We also have a development loan and grant program, which is usually the larger projects for substantial new construction or redevelopment. And then we have a free design assistance program. In 2017, the Urban Renewal Agency enacted a resolution that authorized the MURAC, the McMinnville Urban Renewal Advisory Committee, to make decisions on the facade improvement grant for up to $5,000. So that decision-making authority sits with them, and that's where a lot of those grants are approved. Recently, in the last year, there was a change to the program when we had a discussion about equity. We have both smaller buildings and larger buildings in the district, and so there was a discussion about if it's $5,000 per property, does that really make sense when you could have a property that has 100 or 150 lineal feet of public-facing facade and one that only has 50 feet if you're trying to make impact, you know, in your district. And so the decision was made to have the grants be $5,000 per 50 lineal feet of public-facing elevation. So 205 Northeast Ford Street is the first project in under that new rule. And they have 100 lineal feet. They are a corner property, so the structure itself is 100 lineal feet. And because it's over $5,000, it's coming to you for a final approval. This is the structure that Crown Creations was in that caught on fire many years ago. The property owners are currently now actively restoring the property to get it to a place to be tenanted. At the MURAC meeting, there was a lot of discussion about approving a facade improvement grant for a building that's currently vacant. And if that's the intention of the overall program, it was deciding the intention of the overall program is to improve the building elevations for that sense of place downtown. But I did visit with the property owners this weekend when we were working on one of their projects and talked about the MURAC concerns, and they assured me that they're working towards, their goal is to get the property tenanted, so they're working towards that goal right now, and replacing the windows as part of that. They also just recently repainted the property. They're doing some other exterior improvements as well, and then they will shortly be going into the interior to do tenant improvements. So the MURAC committee did vote to recommend approval of the grant.
Thank you. Any questions of Director Richards? Okay, do I have a motion to consider Urban Renewal Agency Resolution number 2026-07 for the facade grant?
So moved.
So I have a motion from Councilor Cunningham,
Second.
second from Councilor Peralta. Any further discussion? Claudia?
Councilor Tukolsky?
Nay.
Councilor Chenoweth?
Aye.
Councilor Benner?
Aye.
Councilor Geary?
Nay.
Councilor Cunningham?
Aye.
Council President Peralta?
Yes.
URA Resolution number 2026-07 passes by a vote of 4-2.
Great, thank you. The City Council will be going into the conference room for a close to the public executive session pursuant to ORS 192.6602H to consult with counsel concerning the legal rights and duties with regard to current litigation or litigation likely to be filed. Does any counselor need to declare an actual or potential conflict of interest or recuse himself regarding these executive sessions for the record? Seeing none, I will now adjourn the Urban Renewal Agency meeting at 7:47. Thank you.